Hey everybody, welcome back to But Why Though, and today on But Why Though Reviews, we're reviewing Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I think that's the tale, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Kate, and I'm here with Raphael.
Hello.
And Raphael, tell people what you do on the internet.
I write and I pretend that I know things.
So say we all critics. Yeah, and today, like, it was okay. So I have to start this off even before we go into the synopsis. What were your expectations for Furiosa? Like, just
Sky
on
high.
concept alone?
They couldn't be
Really?
higher. They couldn't
Really?
be higher because of one thing. George, I don't know if he has a middle name, Miller.
George Happy
I
Feet
I
Miller.
yes, yes. So I am one of those that jokingly but not really consider James Cameron to be unable to do anything wrong. I think
Yes.
George Miller deserves to be in that category. You should never doubt George Miller. I have found at least every single one of his movies that I have seen to at least be pretty fucking interesting. I love 3,000 Years of Longing, and for me,
I do love 3000 Years of Longing.
I was a bit skeptical of like why going backwards instead of going forward with Mad Max, or like
Yeah.
not even forward. Like they never really do go forward. They go sideways, I
Sideways.
guess. Yeah, it's always like a side adventure. Uh, but then I remember when like people started realizing that they like he planned this since he was working on Fury Road.
Hmm.
I was like, oh okay. Um, and I think like every time they started showing stuff, and especially the first trailer when everyone was complaining that it looked more like CGI than Fury Road, I was like, no, this looks more like 3,000 Years of Longing, and what he does with like he uses more sets and like
Yeah.
what you call it, not a studio, but like the place where you should stop,
Yes. Yeah. Sound stages.
stage, like sound stages. I was like, well, I freaking love 3,000 Years of Longing, so I'm all in on that. If it was that aesthetic, I don't care. I'm gonna wait and see what it does.
Yeah. And I think for me, like I love, so I did not get to watch Fury Road in theaters. I did not watch Fury Road when it
Oh
first
my
came
god,
out.
Kate.
Yeah, I didn't really care for Mad Max that much. So it
Okay.
wasn't on my priority list of going to go see it. And then we saw it
What is it? It was a
because
new movie from the guy who made Happy Feet too.
well, no. Wait, I've seen Fury Road now, but the
No, I
first
know,
time
but
I
like
saw,
at the time,
oh
wasn't the
yeah, no.
from the director of Happy
Oh
Feet
my
2
God.
enough to justify it?
No, it was not. No, it was not.
Oh,
Uh, that being said, when I did see it, I ended up watching it at my friend's house after he rescued us from the Texas freeze, and it was really good. And to me, Fury Road is a 10. Like there is nothing I would change about that film. That is a perfect film. It is an adrenaline rush, and it's like what big action filmmaking is. So I was pretty hesitant when I heard that we were going to get a prequel, and I was even more hesitant when they announced Anya Taylor-Joy because she doesn't look anything like Charlize Theron, and I like she she's very much a waif, like she's very thin, she's very like and I couldn't see her in the same way that I've seen Charlize as this action star. And so I was very apprehensive. And then the first trailer came out, and I was like, oh, let's go. Let's go. This is gonna go so hard.
he did
Anya
it.
actually did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't go in with like super high expectations, but I wanted it to at least I expected it to at least live up to the story that George Miller told in Fury Road. And I think it does that. I do think it does that. So for those of you who don't know what Furiosa, a Mad Max saga is about, which I'm pretty sure we're just going to call Furiosa from now on, it's
Yeah.
directed by George Miller, written by George Miller and Nico Lathouris, and the synopsis is as follows. As the world fell, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers and falls into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dementis. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the citadel presided over by the Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants war for dominance, Furiosa must survive many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. Um, yeah, it's just how did Furiosa become a badass, essentially, is the short line for what Furiosa is. And I think for me, what I really liked was that it is hard for a prequel film to make the film that came before it, even though it's after it canonically, better. It usually lives in its shadow. And I think what Furiosa succeeds in doing is that it feels like something different and it doesn't live in the shadow of Fury Road so much, but it bolsters Fury Road. Like the choices we see Furiosa make in Furiosa make me immediately want to go watch Fury Road and kind of gives more emotional weight to everything that she does in Fury Road. And I think that that at least narratively within the content within the confines of a franchise is very hard to do. So that's like my one very good thing that I think Furiosa does.
So starting with, I mean, I have a lot of positive things to say about this movie, but I think starting with that, yeah, like I pre-screenings where I leave in the morning. So as soon as I got home, I immediately played Fury Road, and I think this does what Road One did really well, which is, as you say, it adds context that you didn't think you wanted for
Yeah.
the previous movie, like the previous chronology. No,
Yeah.
never mind, the original movie, I guess. Even though, sure. Uh, and I think knowing now that like George Miller planned this as a sort of, I mean, I don't know if like how much like, I mean, supposedly they did plan like a script-ish, but like it does feel very much like a dungeon master, like a writer just being like, you know what? I want to justify everything by writing a crap ton of backstory that I'm never going to use, and it's just something cool that I
It's
tell people,
Tolkien's
hey, I have a lot of backstory.
appendices.
And is the appendices, exactly. And I mean, there's a reason why they keep mining those appendices, Kay. Like everything they've been doing,
Yeah.
is just those appendices, nothing more. And I think George Mill does it really well. Where like, no, it's not just that, but it's the fact that because the structures are so different, this complements Fury Road. Like Fury Road is super bare bones in terms of story, but like very much like the first Star Wars, the world is there for us to imagine. That not really telling us, that showing us a bunch of stuff. And Furiosa is more like, okay, what if we actually tell a story that actually shows the larger world and not just this one like loop-de-loop of a race.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the way they incorporate like not just the Citadel, but Bullet Farm and Gastown and
Mm-hmm.
the Green Place and the stories that these are a larger world. Like this is the first time since Mad Max 2, I guess, where like we hear more of a backstory, exactly what happened to the world, even though we
Yeah.
never like it's always like he retcons himself every time, which I
Yeah.
think is cool. So I think that makes it for not only an interesting movie, but also it complements Fury Road in a way that doesn't like step over it.
Yeah.
They both feel like two parts of the same movie, even
Yeah.
though
No, and
completely
I
like
don't
separate times.
disagree. And I think that like I don't have a lot of negative things to say about Fury Road or about Furiosa. I have nothing negative to say about Fury Road. But the small things I have to say about Furiosa does come from that larger narrative that it has because I think it is too slowly paced. I think it's too
Oh,
slowly
sure,
paced and
I
I
can
think
see
they
that.
do too much instead of just like because I think for me what I loved about Fury Road and what I love about showing not telling is that it trusts Miller trusts the audience to learn things and infer things and see how the world is working. And he does that very well with Bullet Farm, with the Bullet Farm and Gastown. And he does it very well with the interactions between all of the warlords. And I and he does it very well in some places. I think he does it good with Praetorian Jack. Is it Praetorian Jack?
Yeah,
Yeah, he does
I
very
think
well
so.
with
Yeah.
Praetorian Jack and his relationship with Furiosa. Like none of that is so over the head. But I think because he does it so well in those pieces, the actual Furiosa story of it all, I think there are parts of it where it goes on too
Right.
long because you're
Right.
showing me absolutely everything. And I don't necessarily need that because he has written characters and written a world that does a good job of pulling you into it. Because I do agree that like this one has a more cohesive story and like point A to point B focus, but I also think that that's kind of where it has hiccups for me and how he does
Hmm.
that. But that's like one of my I have like that's one. I have like two critiques and that is it. That's one of them. But I
But
think to your point though about larger story arcs, my second thing that I loved is actually the hero of this movie. He's not the hero, he's a villain. But the
the
true
hero of the story
star
is
of
the
this
Mentos.
movie
Yeah,
is Chris Hemsworth as Demented.
yeah.
And he has a full story that I think is hilarious and dumb and big and somehow really smart. And I love him. And I will throw it to you to talk. But yeah.
So, to your, I mean, I get like both are related, but like, yeah, I think that I definitely see your points about Furiosa's story, and I think that I think it just worked on me on the fact that you can have both. You have the Mentos is like Furiosa worked in Fury Road perfectly without having to tell us anything. We
Yeah.
knew nothing. Um, she just looks cool, and that's it. And through her look, we know everything. Um, but I think it worked on me on like showing her art and just how she became the Furiosa that we know.
Yeah.
And I think that to your point about Anya Taylor Joy's casting, I think she did a really good job. She's no Charlize Theron, but like who can be? But I didn't see Charlize Theron as an action star before Fury Road either. I think the only thing
Oh,
like big like what did she like Atomic Blonde was around the same time? No, it wasn't that long before, and that was the
that
only,
is not her only action movie,
isn't it?
sir.
I mean, I haven't seen the other
No.
ones. Then I only knew
She
from Atomic Blonde, and I don't know like Atomic Blonde that much.
Okay, we're gonna move on because this is not a Charlize
Okay,
Theron
uh,
podcast.
uh,
But I
but
would like to say
I mean,
Eon
if you
Flux.
need me, everything should
Eon
be actually turned up to a podcast.
Eon Flux is one of my favorite movies.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
not saying
okay.
that
I'm
it's
adding it to the list.
particularly good, but that is a very fantastic action movie in
Okay, I
which
did
Charlize
say I
Theron is the
pretended to know
best.
things. Okay, I said I pretended to know things. But my point is, I think Anita Taylor still does a very good job in showing us
Yes.
how she
Yes, I
became
agree.
the version that we saw in Fury Road.
I agree.
And I think the contrast, my point was the contrast between the way George Miller tells Furiosa story, uh, like more detail and showing us like more of it
Okay, I see what you're
compared
saying.
to the Mentors, where we know basically as much about the Mentors as we knew of Furiosa and Fury Road or some of
Yes,
the other
that's fair.
characters in Fury
That's
Road,
fair.
where like there's just a single moment towards the beginning when he's like, there's a reason he has a little teddy bear around with him all the time. And I'm like, man, this is so sad. And I kind of want to
Yeah.
see his story now, but no, because this is enough. Um, and I think the contrast between the two of them were like, Fury Rosa gets a whole story where the Mentos kind of becomes um, like the Mad Max to Fury Rosa in Fury Road. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like still we got one character we know more of than the other. I think that contrast works really well in both movies. Um, but yeah, the Mentos is so great, and I mean, I loved it from the beginning, but I found a bit curious when the first trailer came out. No, the first images came out, and we saw Chris Hemsworth in all the makeup.
Yeah.
This convinced me that we need more extremely known actors in heavy prosthetics, like Colin Farrell in the Batman, where like everyone was like, "Why do you need Colin Farrell as the Penguin?" Like, no, no, no. We need it specifically for it to be Colin Farrell in that makeup. We need Chris Hemsworth to be playing Eggman from Sonic. We need these people that everyone knows their faces to be like covered in heavy makeup and doing silly things.
Yeah.
He's just great, great. He felt like an anime character in the best possible way.
Well, and that's what I loved about it because so Spiderhead, again, not a good movie, but Chris Hemsworth is the strongest part of that movie because he is like, he plays like a tech bro who just goes off the deep end and he's like pretty chaotic, really amoral. And then he also plays a really good villain in Bad Times at the El Royale. And I think that like, what I love that Furiosa has done for Hemsworth, and I hope that it allows him to keep expanding is that he's not just the guy with the hammer. He's just not the really sexy Norse
I mean,
god.
he was really
He's
great and
very
funny in Cabin in the
talented.
Woods, even though he
Yeah.
was also the big, sexy guy in that
Well,
movie.
yeah.
But
But like
still,
I think when you allow him to play beyond type, he can do
yeah.
so much because he's fine in like Extraction, but he's just an action dude. And I think
Yeah.
he lives and thrives in that weirdness that I think can consume certain actors' performances where like you just remember them being weird, you don't remember the actor behind it. Whereas I think with Dementis, he like it works because it's him. Like it has to be Hemsworth in that role to make it work. And I think that that's what makes it the best part of the movie for me, like to be honest. Like I love Furiosa and her story with Jack and all the action, but Hemsworth blew it out of the park, man. Like it's
Yeah.
good. And especially the finale sequence with him and Anya as Furiosa, like now the Furiosa that we know in Fury Road. Whew, it hit. It was
And
good.
is it fair to say, like, I'm willing to say he's my favorite of all the Mad Max villains?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he's the
That's a
only, and I
hundred
think he's
percent
the
fair.
first time we kind of feel bad about a villain in a Mad Max movie.
Well, I never
Like,
felt
they're all
bad for
over the
him.
top. They're all, I mean, not bad, but like in the beginning, you're like, he could have been a nice guy, I guess. And he went through some stuff. And he sometimes he's like, I kind of want to pretend like I'm doing something good, even though he's not. I don't know. But like, I think
So
like I think he's at the very least a different type of villain that we've seen.
he is. He is. I think very specifically, I think that Dementis is the dumbest character
Oh yeah,
in the entire film.
by far.
But he's also the most intelligent. The way he moves everything to get into a position to be in control in the way that he is, and the pivots that he's taken in his character, even though people are very certain that he's inept and out of his depth, all of those things get him to where he's at that point where you have the 40-day war that eventually happens at the end of at the end of the film. Won't spoil like what happens from there, but I think that like he's so dumb, but he's so smart. And I think that playing a villain like that,
He's a
but
smarter Bogey the
writing,
Clown.
yeah,
Mad Max
yeah.
is Bogey the Clown.
Oh no. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That's but writing a character like that is hard. And I think
yeah.
that he Miller did a phenomenal job with that personally.
Um, you brought up the 40-day war, and without talking about that specifically, but one thing I really like is that for all of the movie serving as a filling in the blanks in some regard, I think that the fact, like his choice with that, and what he shows and he doesn't show, is like again the reason I love Fury Road, and one of the smarter things about the movie is when Miller chooses to show you things and where he just like this happens,
Yeah.
or like showing you in the background and things like that. And I think that's again one of the things that like Miller does so well in general, and especially with these movies.
Yeah. It's smart filmmaking. It's smart filmmaking. It's also like it's knowing where you can show impact and what is something that, like you said, just has to happen to get to where you're going. And I think that that's really good. I do think the film is a little bit too long. Like I said, I felt like it drags in places.
I get it. I
I
mean
don't need all of the Furiosa stuff. Like I
I
need
take it
all the
as
Furiosa
it's
stuff,
an
but it can be
odyssey. It's an
compacted.
odyssey. It's a Mad Max odyssey. And like I get it and I like that, but I understand why not everyone will enjoy that.
Yeah, I just
Like I
mm.
totally will not like blame you for not liking that and for wishing it was shorter, but it worked on me.
Do you have any like critiques overall?
Before we go that before we go that another thing I wanted to mention. Oh my God, the cars and vehicles in this movie.
Oh,
Like I
yeah,
thought
that's a given.
the
It's so
things were
good.
great in Fury Road. I mean, I thought it was a given, but even then, the way they up the ante even more. Like there's so many things here.
It's really
From
good.
the Mentos chariot that I don't know how it works. I don't think
I
that's
kept
a thing.
trying to think why it would work and I couldn't figure it
I
out.
don't care. I just know that it works and that I want one. There are things that fly in this movie. They fly now. Uh, the war rigs. There's multiple war rigs, and they all look so cool. Uh, yeah. This movie rules.
It's very good. It's very good. I completely agree with that. Um, I think the action itself is really well handled when we do get it, because there's actually not as much as you would expect from this film, which is kind of
No,
an issue for me.
again, it's more of an
But
odyssey than like a non-stop loop-de-loop of a race as in Fury Road.
But
it.
yes.
You may not like it,
Yeah.
but that's what it is. Like, that's what it's meant to be, at least. That's what it's supposed
That's
to be.
fair. That's fair. But when action does happen, it's really well done. Like it just
Yeah.
showcases how like I think that there are a lot of times a blockbuster film like I feel like blockbuster action is spectacle over substance, and then you have special places like Mad Max and like what Miller does, where you have spectacle and substance and you can't separate the two from each other. All of it has to happen. And I think that that's what he really proves. And I think his dedication to showing violence but making violence always necessary and creative without just being shock is something that's pretty fascinating and really that can go really sideways in a dystopian story, but he nails it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, I mean, you go first on your critiques, because I mean, I don't think the movie's flawless, but I don't have like big issues with it,
Yeah.
to be completely honest.
I think mine
I
is
see
really
all of your points,
yeah,
but
but you're wrong.
they didn't bother me. No, I don't think you're wrong. It's just like they didn't bother me that
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I think for me, because I've been kind of going through my mind and I've had a couple of conversations with friends now that the movie's out. And a lot of me is just that, like, I envy, I put this in my review, I envy anybody whose entryway into Mad Max is this movie specifically.
Sure,
Because I think if
sure.
you watch this first, it becomes like S tier entirely.
Yeah,
And then you go into Fury Road, and that one takes off even far. Like that's like at a 12 out of 10. Like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? But I think if when having to watch it back to front, I think that that's where I get caught up because of the choice. And this isn't a spoiler, it's just the fact that George Miller puts scenes from Mad Max as the closer
How
for
if
the
it's George
film.
Miller? I am willing to at
Okay,
least consider the possibility that it's not George Miller.
but they wouldn't
But
even
yes,
but they chose not to re-release Fury Road though. So like that's my
yeah.
issue. Whether it's George Miller's fault or not, that's his movie and that was a choice that was made. And that
Yeah.
choice it it for me it takes a lot of wind out of its sails and it puts
Is it
me
because it's
back
just like
into the
you are
situation.
reminded of the better movie in a way?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
well,
And it's one of those things where it's kind of like because Fury Road is my 10, it keeps Furiosa down because I don't think it matches the intensity and I don't think it matches the things that I want from a Mad Max movie. But I think it's a very good movie. Like I think I don't think it's a bad movie by any stance. I think it's a very good movie. I think if I had watched this first, I would have given it close to a 10. Like it's very good. And I envy people who get to have that experience because I think that was what I wish had happened. I wish he had made Furiosa first and then given us
it
Furio.
was going to.
I it didn't happen.
It could have, but it could have.
But it didn't.
I
And
know.
that's the thing. At the end of the day, we live in reality and it didn't happen and that's what I have to base it on. And I think that that can be studio oversight and studios messing up creative endeavors. But I think that that's what I keep grappling with because there's always this twinge of because I know how badass and fantastic and damaged and vulnerable Furiosa is in Fury Road, it makes it very hard. There's always this, even though I love what Anya Taylor-Joy does with Furiosa, there's this twinge of was it necessary? Because I've seen the end point already. Is it
Oh, I
always
think it is.
necessary? No, and I think it like, and I don't think that this is like a money grab film, which is what I would put into the unnecessary pile. But I think because there's a constant reminder of Fury Road, and because I did not see this first, it has a twinge of it. Like it's not entirely unnecessary, but
I
my
know what you
brain
mean.
keeps thinking, hmm. And it
So I
wasn't
will
bad.
say,
Like I don't want people
no,
listening
no,
to
no.
think that I thought
I
it
get
was
what you're
bad,
saying.
but
I get what you're saying. I will say, and not to like uh invalidate your thought at all, but like I think like you are looking at it you're like differently than I am. I look at it as it shows that the world of Mad Max can sustain other types of stories.
mhm.
Like it, like for me, this was the proof that like no. I mean, Fury Road was the one that did that. Cause like, I mean, Fury Road is already like a different type of movie than the previous one,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I don't need every Mad Max movie to be Fury Road. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with like Fury Road being the end of the Mad Max universe in a way,
Yeah.
and for whatever Josh Miller is going to be doing next, you to be like not necessarily filling in the blank story wise, but just filling in the like geographical blanks,
Yeah.
I guess. And like the reason it worked for me and the reason it didn't bother me as much, all of the point that you're saying is that I don't consider it to like it never needed to match Fury Road in terms of structure or intensity. It needed to
Yeah.
do something different. Because otherwise I just watch Fury Road again. Um and I think this is much closer to like the previous two movies, like well, not the previous two movies, but like the last two of the trilogy. I don't consider it the first one because that the first one is not even supposed to be post-apocalypse. That's still like regular people living regular lives in that one. But this is closer to, and to be fair, I haven't seen it in years, but closer to what my memory of the Road Warrior or
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Thunderdome is, when it's slightly slower and slightly more like this a person
Mm-hmm.
story,
Well,
and it
and
opens to
that's
like Furiosa being more of an odyssey, like this woman who goes through years of story. And that's what for me, it's not that it was necessary, but it was justified for Josh Miller to want to
yes.
take so much time and make this such a long movie and all of that because it served a different purpose than Fury Road and the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
I totally see why that didn't
Yeah.
work for you, but for me, I did think like, of course, I had Fury Road in the back of my head, but I didn't think that this movie needed to do anything to match that movie. It needed to do something different. I think
Yeah.
that's what it did.
Well, and I don't disagree there. And I think that that's why the end sequence is what messes it all up because I think it snaps you back into the direct comparison. And I think the choice
Yeah,
to
but at
do
that
that
point,
was a mistake.
again,
But
that
that
just, but like, at least
but
for
it
me, that just made me go and want to watch Fury Road after, rather than compare the two. You know what I mean?
made me compare the
Like
two.
say,
And
okay,
that's the
like
thing
say
too,
that
is like I do
If Rogue One had, but I mean, I guess it's just a weird choice. Regardless,
yeah.
it's not even like showing you. It's just like, why are you showing random photos, seeing like this was like, I don't know,
No,
like a
it's
made-for-TV
awkward. It's
movie.
really
It's an
weird
awkward
because
choice. You're completely right.
yeah,
It's a
because
weird choice. It
I
does
do not
nothing.
think that it is like I think that Anya
I
Taylor
think
Joy
I'm
as
pretty sure it's a
Furiosa,
marketing choice.
that's
I'm
fair.
pretty sure it's a
But then
marketing choice to be like, hey, did you know this was a prequel? And
but
this
it
is connected to that other
but it
movie.
frustrates
Because
me
remember,
because
like that movie did it
but
made money, but it wasn't a huge hit.
they wouldn't even put it back into theaters to go with
Yeah, but it's Warner
Furiosa.
Brothers, Kate. It is Warner Brothers Discovery, Kate. It is David S. Zaslav, Kate. Why are you surprised that they're making stupid decisions?
That's fair. Anyway, I also like, and I do want to clarify too, like, I also don't have a problem that this is one person's story. I also don't have a problem that it's one person's story over like 13 years, like
Yeah, something like that.
years, like over 10
Very
years.
long
I
time.
don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that. I have a problem with how it was executed because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
it
yeah.
actually moves cohesively and it drops itself off. And there are a lot of periods where nothing is done. I think if they had done it more, like I am more interested with seeing how the hell Furiosa survived in that setting without talking the entire time. Like I wanted more of that. I
Yeah,
needed
that's
less
very
of
fair.
Kid Furiosa
That's
and
very
more
fair.
of actually because getting abducted, pathway into the Citadel,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
there's just so much time of the same thing over and over again where I would have actually liked to know more about her life once she was there. Because the part that is most interesting to me is how she survived in the Citadel for so long
Oh,
and was able to
I did
escalate
think
in
about
those
that a lot.
things.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah.
why when she takes up with Praetorian Jack that she all of a sudden can just talk again. Did nobody question where she came from? They were just throwing women in to be in a harem like the last time. Why didn't they do it again? And I think that it's
She
those
cut her
inconsistent.
hair.
Not until
She
the
cut
end. She
her hair,
literally
Kate.
she stands in front of Immortan Joe with her long ass hair and
Yeah, that's true.
says, "He's mine.
Hey, you don't
Dementis
know.
is
Maybe
mine."
Immortan Joe thought she was like no, no, something. Maybe Immortan Joe is woke, Are you, do you ever consider that?
Anyway, those are my issues.
Yeah,
I
I
think there
get
was
you
a
mean. I
focus on
get
the
you
least
mean.
interesting part of the Furiosa story for me. And that is
Yeah,
because and
yeah,
that's what it is because like
yeah.
I like Furiosa as a character. I love that she is a badass. I love that we've gotten to see like behind the curtain of what made her a person like that.
See,
And
but
all
I
the stuff
wouldn't.
at the end is
Yeah,
so good. I just want
that's the
more of
thing.
that.
I think. Yeah, I think I wouldn't take away from the Furiosa as we know her chunk of the movie, because that's basically like one big like chapter, and that chapter works, I think. But I think like either like cut it down a little bit, or add and make it even longer about the what you're saying, that middle part,
Yeah.
because yeah, that is still a big leap that could make it a part two. I guess I don't know. I guess that's what comics are for. But no,
Yeah.
I definitely got what you mean. Now, why do you think? How will this movie have worked as an anime, as it was initially supposed to be?
Oh, I would have loved it, man. It would have been
Yeah,
really
right.
good as an anime.
Yeah, right.
Like it would have, yeah. It would have been really good as an anime. That I can see. But no, so I'm assuming you don't have any like large glaring issues with the film overall though.
There is a
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
There is a more.
Those are the only ones that I have, which I think at the end of the day I gave it an 8.5. I think I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. So it's not a low score. I like
No,
and that's the thing. I keep bouncing on my head with it because I really like it. It's objectively a good movie. Um,
no, but like your issues with it are I mean justified, but also big enough to like an 8.5 sounds like about right for what you're saying.
yeah. Yeah. What about you? What did you give it or are
I
you
mean,
going to give it?
I haven't reviewed it, but I will give it a 9. I don't think a 9.5. Well, maybe a 9.5. I think I will dare give it a 9.5.
Yeah. So do you think people
The Mentos alone, like yeah,
Oh, yeah,
put
no.
it to a 9.5. That boy deserves the world.
He does.
And by
He
the world, I mean
does.
like a kick in the face in his own movie.
So I'm assuming you want people to go head to the theater and watch this.
Yes, watch it, then watch it in 4DX, then watch it in IMAX. But at least squeezing a 4DX movie, watch it. We were talking about this and doing that next weekend, and I cannot wait.
It's gonna be exciting. I will say
It's gonna be
overall,
shiny and chrome.
I will say overall, what I am very excited about with Furiosa and what I anticipate to be Furiosa's success is I think we're heading back to that heart of action movies where like this is the action movies that I miss. Like that, like I don't like all of the 80s stuff or early 90s stuff, but like there's the way that they approached action, even with like Escape from New York, Escape from L, like those
Well,
types
are
of
you saying that this movie is
apocalyptic.
gonna be a hit and that others are gonna imitate it? Because I doubt it. I doubt that
No
it's
one would
even gonna be a
ever
hit.
do that.
No, but like I don't think it's gonna be a hit, to be honest.
Really? Why?
No, because people are not that smart, and the first movie didn't do that well. It did money, but it wasn't like a huge hit.
But I think that first movie got a lot of legs once it was released on home video. And that is the
Yeah,
thing, is like after release, it did a lot. So now you have something
yeah,
coming out with those fans that were formed after release.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Nothing would
No.
make me happier.
No, I genuinely judge like we genuinely judge friends on whether or not we can be friends with someone as if they don't like Fury Road. If you don't like Fury Road, you cannot sit with me. I do not like
Good,
you already on principle. That is a
good.
perfect movie. And Furiosa is close to perfect. Um, Raphael, where can people find you in your work?
I'm on the social medias as Rafael Motamayor, just my name. I have hopefully, I think about the cars from Furiosa and all the vehicles from Furiosa coming like a week and a half at GQ magazine, so that's cool. And I'm on Slash Film, IndieWire. I post all of that on my Twitter, X, whatever that.
And you can find me at OpenMythRandier on Twitter. And if you want to read my 8.5 review of Furiosa, you can find that at butwhythough.net. Just click the little link that shows up in the description. I don't know why I still point. Matt told me I didn't have to point for the people, but like, I don't know.
Don't point.
I see other
Important.
YouTubers like point, like, click. I
Yeah,
don't know. But more importantly, go watch Furiosa.
do it. V8.